Good morning, good morning. Today we're going to show you how to drive the back or the rear of the car using OnShape. As we did for the front end, we're going to select the center part and we're going to modify this to be our back end. So how do we begin? Always start by going to copy, and I'm going to call it the back end. Okay. Now, if we're looking at the back end has a few features here. I'm looking at it here. And the back end requires 2 pegs, but no sockets. So we're going to have to get rid of the top features and the sockets in the back. So we're going to come over here and just start looking at what we can get rid of, like those. Delete. Sketch number 2, delete. Now, I don't want to get rid of anything that we did with the pegs, so I'm going to move back down and look at, there's our sockets. So you have to really, it does highlight them when you pick them out, so it shows you what they look like. Boom, all that's gone. Extrude, gone. Now, could I have gone through and just did all that? I could have selected it all really and done all that. Now I have, oh, that's on the side. I'm actually going to leave that. I think I can keep that. What am I talking about? That's this little groove right here. So now, as we did before, we're going to place a sketch on this right side. So I'm just deleting all the other sketches there. I got rid of them all. Oh, look what it did. It got rid of the, let's go back and see what happened. See where I must have deleted a sketch that I needed. So I'm going to get deleted sketch number 8. There we go. So notice I can just hit undo and it goes back and gets rid of that for you. So now we're ready to go. I'm going to do a sketch on this edge just like we did with our front end. And now I'm going to try to figure out how far do I have to come over. It says actually 1. So the back end comes flat across the top. And then there's a curve that comes down. It's probably a big curve. So I'm going to use my 3-point curve here. Starts about there. And probably comes up to about here. And then it has this kind of rounded bottom like that. I can add some dimensions after I get the kind of the shape outlined. And I'll do that. And then up top here, I'm going to do another. Now see how it's not touching? It won't grab that edge. This is where you could use or convert or project. I pick that line. Notice it goes black. Because it goes black, I can use it for something. Whereas I couldn't do that before, right? So I'm looking at this and it comes down kind of like that. Maybe that's a little too low. I do like using these arcs. They're not tremendously precise, but I think it looks pretty good when you do it. Oh, I got out of arc. Oh. Something. I think the back end actually goes up straight as I'm looking at it. Well, maybe not quite straight. I haven't added a single dimension yet, so now I'm going to have to start looking at my dimension to see if it's going to be, wow, 1.09. I expected it to be 1 inch. So, and this comes, that edge I would say was going to be, see, while it's still blue, I can still manipulate it. I have to get out of dimension, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm just going to drag this point down to give it the, it's not going to change the 1 inch. The 1 inch is not going to change. I'm just changing the angles and stuff to get it more like what I want it to look like. And I do have a couple of dimensions that I'm going to go with. That one looks pretty good. I think this dimension really should be from here to this. Going to be right on that edge, so 0.16. A little lower, good. The other thing is I want to know where that transfers up. I think it's about 0.25 up. Pick there. And this is an estimate. I mean, I can change it later on. So I'm going to pick here, and I'm going to pick there. Well, that seems different. 0.25 seems awfully low. Yeah, maybe I'm looking at some of the dimensions I have on here and realizing that's probably a little low. 0.3. Now, the dimension I had written down for this bottom arc was, let's see how close I came. 1.25 is what I had written down. That's actually not horrible. Be careful. See how this arc is not touching there? It may end up being a problem where it cuts out and then comes back into it. So a lot of times I'll change this arc to be a little less. Oh, I'm sorry, a little more. 1.4. Cut it a little bit steeper. There we go. So let's just say it's not ideal, but we're going to go with it, and we'll play with the dimensioning later on. Actually, I want to check one other dimension before I change it up. There it is. I want to see how far it is front to back. I have it written down as 0.9. So this is the last dimension I'm going to put on here before I start cutting this out. From there to there. Dimension from here to there. I said it was 0.95. That wasn't horrible. I like the way this tapers in a little bit, although if I'm looking at it, it doesn't really taper in that much, but I'm going to leave that. So now, just like we did with the front end, we're going to make something that we can cut out of there. Make sure they touch all those points. And now I have a profile that I can use to remove the entire back end. So I'm going to do remove, pick my profile, and you'll notice it's going to cut right across the back and give me the shape of my back end. There. That's what I was talking about. See how that comes out and then all of a sudden it stops? So that arc that I made, I can see my part and there's nothing, there shouldn't be a little stop right there. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to manipulate my sketch just a little bit. Edit sketch. So that I don't end up with that little bit of a flat surface there. In order to do that, I'm going to have to increase this number, 1.5. Finish our sketch, and it should hopefully fix the problem. If not, it's going to get smaller. Well, darn close, isn't it? Leaves that little tiny move. I guess that's more than fine. So now I'm looking at my sketch and the profile that I created versus the profile that I have here. Oh, I know what I did. I have to go back and do my sketch again. I'm just looking at it going, yeah, that doesn't look right. You know why? Because this arc right here, which I don't have, is supposed to go in like this. So I had it go in the wrong direction. And the other thing is, I don't think it's 0.16 down. I think it's actually going to be 0.12. So it's a little bit higher. Finish our sketch. That's better. I was looking at it going, ooh, that doesn't look quite right. The other thing I'm going to do is round this corner off here. It's not quite so sharp, so I'm just going to use a regular fillet to round that off. Boom. Actually, the 0.2 looks perfect. I have it written down as 0.25. I wonder if that looks better. Yeah, that looks good. So now I'm getting the shape that I'm looking for my car. And I can add the fillets now too, if you wanted to. Remember we did a 0.16 fillet on all the sides, so hopefully I can select this edge and see how it propagates that whole edge. I'm going to propagate this edge and that edge. And you know what? Look what's interfering here is this. See how this cuts through here? Same thing happened prior to this when we did the front end. So I guess I'm just going to have to go back and get rid of that. Delete. Now technically I could leave my sketch there and just turn off the visibility so I don't see it. And that way later on if I wanted to put that groove back in, I can do that, which is kind of cool. All right, fillet 0.16. I should be able to just grab this edge, and see how it goes all the way up now. Yep. That's what I was looking for. Oh, see how that's funny. It propagated this top piece too, so I don't want to say that. There. So let's see. Take that edge. Make sure you get all the little edges there you want. That edge, but not this edge. Oop, not that. Sometimes I'll go back and select the different edges. Let's see. This edge for sure. I'd like to come up over this edge, but as soon as I click that edge, it rounds it right over. So a lot of times I'm playing with this, trying to get it set up the way I want it. So I wonder if that didn't change it. I'm just checking to see if they're all attached. Somehow it's propagated that other one. I want to get rid of that. Boom. Well, it's funny because I wanted to leave that back edge there, and it just wanted to go back and fill it. See, that's what I'm looking for, that little piece right there. I didn't want to round that edge over. So maybe I'll get rid of this little tiny surface right here. See all the edges that I picked? Pick this one. You know what? Sometimes it's easier to do it. Just delete it and then add it again. 0.6. I don't want to propagate the tangents because that was going to automatically cut the corners. Boom, boom, boom. That's where I'm going to stop, I think. I'll pick this and that, and this edge, and that edge. I don't want to pick this edge. Let's see what happens if we do that. Or maybe I do have to pick that edge. Oh, see, as soon as I pick that edge, clear selection. Oh. Well, it's one of those things. You'll get it. It's just a matter of time before it comes in. Trying to get it just to the right spot. Even if I just did it to there, I'm happy with that. If it allows me to, and didn't. It's funny. It's just this last one that didn't like. So even if we just did it there, see how that looks. And then come over and do the same on this side. Fill it. 0.16. Take this, that. Look at that. Because it says this, propagate. I don't want to do that. We'll be able to pick each one. Let's see if we pick that line. Doesn't like that. Look at it, as soon as I pick that part, it comes right around that corner. And then it doesn't allow me to pick that part. So I'm just going to do what I can for now. You can always add them back later. I'm trying to get the right shape to that. That's not horrible. There. So from here, I can do a bunch of different things. I have a couple of tail lights that I have to put in. I have to put the spoiler on the back, and I also have to put a axle on each side. If we went with an axle, I would just put a sketch on here, and the axle is just the same as we did the axles before. I should say the pegs. You start with a sketch. Remember, every single cylinder has 3 different dimensions. It says the outside dimension is 0.16, and then I have to know how far it is over. According to that dimension, it's funny, I didn't put that dimension in there. I'm not sure why. I got the whole dimension there, I just didn't put the number in the value. So I'm looking at it, I'm looking at, boom, 3.5. 3.5. Whoa! I'm sure you've done that before. 0.35. And then probably the most important one is the bottom up. You want the wheels to be at the same height. So I'm going to pick, if it's doing this and see how it's coming, it's trying to do a parallel line, a tangent line. I believe you can right click escape dimension. Let's try that again. Dimension, pick, and pick. There we go. That's what I was looking for. And I have a height of 0.25. It's going to be right on the edge of the fillet, so that makes sense. I'm going to finish that. I'm going to go to extrude, and much like when we did it before, of course, we're going to add 0.03. Comes out just a little bit. Oop. Isn't that funny? Oh, I must have deselected the surface. Let me cancel that. I'll go back and do it again. I was moving too fast, I guess. Boom. Pick that. Pick that. 0.03. That's all we're looking for. Boom. Now, just like we did before, put a sketch on this. Put a circle. Oop. Circle. Make sure you pick the center. Should give you a little square there. And this is going to be the actual axle. This is the little piece up against there. And I have the axle written down as a dimension of 0.15. So you got to remember, the wheel, right? The center of the wheel's got to be just a little bit bigger than the axle shaft. So you'd have to go back and look, because they're supposed to go together without interference, because this is a clearance fit. It's going to spin right around, right? So we'll go extrude. I'm going to pick that surface. This one comes out. I think I have it written down here. I thought I had it written down. Oh, there it is, right there. 0.3. That seems a little excessive. Didn't change it. 0.3. Now we'll do another sketch on the end. Another circle. Same consistent centers, right? Dimension. And I have the outside one is 0.16. That can't be right. Oh yeah, maybe it is. 0.16. We said that was 0.15. I'm going to guess this is probably closer to 0.17. This will look better. Note on my sketch, maybe even 0.18. Let's just take a look at that. Edit sketch. 0.18. Extrude. This time I'm going to extrude it back. Oh no, I'm going to extrude. Yeah, no, I'm going to extrude it back. This is actually pretty important. I did that 0.3, so that's going to be 0.3 is all the way out. So I am going to extrude it back. Add back point. Just a little piece off the back. There we go. Once again, we're doing another sketch off the end and another circle from the center. This is actually going to be the cutout for the middle. And the inside dimension is pretty darn small. I measured it a few times and I actually wrote it down. I'm not sure I wrote it down on this sketch, but I'm just going to double check. That's what I assumed. It is darn small, 0.06. 0.06. Looks to me like that could be a little bit larger, but no, that actually looks pretty good. Just at a glance, sometimes it looks like it could be larger. This time we're going to cut it in, going remove, and we're going to remove at a distance of 0.5, just like we did the other ones. There's our peg starting to shape up right there. So now I'm going to do another sketch off the end, because just like on the pegs on the front, there is a groove there. So instead of doing a circle this time, I'm going to do a center point rectangle. Boom. Just like that. It's actually the same size. If I pick that line, I can come right down and say 0.04. Sketch. Extrude. Remove. I don't need to pick the top and the bottom of that, but I could if I wanted to. Thank you. Now, like I had done before, it's all about the tweak, making it look good. So I did some rounding of the corners here. So fillet, 0.02. That's rounded. And this edge is rounded. 0.02. That helps. That edge is rounded. And the other edge is rounded. There we go. And for looks, it's all about the looks, I guess. 0.0. Let's see, it was 0.04. I have to go back and look. But we definitely rounded some of these edges here. 0.02. Let's do it. Just trying to remember what we used. I think it was 0.08 maybe. 0.08 of an inch. Yeah, just enough to give it a little edge. Make it look not so sharp. And there is our axle. So as we've done before, I like to do this. I just pick that. I go right click, edit face, and I can pick anything. See? I can pick all these pieces right here. And the nice thing is, I don't have to go back and select a color because it's going to do whatever color I had before picked. So I'm just going to pick all those surfaces. Oh, I missed it. I missed it. I usually get them all that I can right there, and then maybe I'll flip it around and look at it a little closer. Then I look at it from the, you got these surfaces that we didn't catch before. Good. Check. And then, I love this. We're going to put a plane on there. Actually, I think we have a plane there. Let's go back and look, because we had a plane way back when. There it is. See that? I'll just turn it on. Show plane. I can use it. So I go to mirror. And now I have to figure out what I need to mirror. So that. Oh. Oh, remember this? I hate that. Pure feature. Now I gotta go back here. See where I started with our first. So that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Our mirror plane. Boom. Check. We should have it on the other side. Oh, I didn't change the color, but I'll have to change the color. So now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to hide the plane because I don't need it anymore. So it's looking pretty good. I still got to do some tweaking. I know I have to put a couple of holes here in order to get that plane, so I can cut those holes out. I'd go to plane, and I'm just going to use a regular old offset to pick that. Notice it's going the wrong direction there. Go back the other way. 1 inch is good because that's what I said it was. Put a sketch on that plane, and I'm going to start cutting out my holes that are going to be my taillights. One here. This one has 4 of them on there. So I go 1, 2. Now I could use a mirror on this one too. Maybe I'll do that. So I got to do 2 headlights or 2 taillights here. There we go. From the top edge to the center. I have written down 0.12. That's pretty darn close, isn't it? Now to make them the same, I could dimension it, or I could just say horizontal, pick this one, and pick that one. And then they're going to be the same height. From the outside edge over, so I'm going back to dimension. That distance is going to be 0.12. And the second distance for the second one is going to be 0.32. And then the diameter, 0.15. Now I could dimension the second one too, or I can use my equal constraint, just say equal, and they're making both the same size. I can finish my sketch. I'm going to go to extrude, remove, come in here and just hit these 2. They're going the wrong way. Click. And according to my depth, I have depth of 0.15. We'll see how well that looks. A lot of times I'll look at it before I actually go in and see. I hate that. I guess that's what you're dealing with too, trying to figure out what looks the best. That doesn't look bad. Let's go check. And then this is how I get the rounded part of it. I come in and just pick that bottom edge with a fillet. We're going to go 0.07 and do the same thing here. 0.07 gives us that rounded look. You know what? Those seem pretty darn big to me. Go back, edit my sketch. I'll change that to 2. That looks better. The other thing, it looks like they're closer together. 0.28. There we go. I'm going to have to make sure I go back and add those dimensions. 0.28. And this one I put down as 0.12. Changing those dimensions. Let's see if my fillet, my fillet didn't work. Why? If I go to edit fillet, 0.07, I just change it to 0.12, so I have to go half of that. 0.06 would probably work, or 5, one or the other. And that seems to give me the green light, so, and that's looking so much better. Now, I'm just going to mirror that over, so I'm going to go back and turn my plane on. Let's see. Plane. There it is. Boom. So now I go to mirror. I have to pick that extrusion. Oop, remember this. That drives me nuts. Pick that and that. Pick the mirror plane. And say OK. So now I'm going to turn off a bunch of planes. That one. And the one I had on before. And we got basically the same shape. I got to tweak it a little bit. And I still have to put the spoiler on. But I'm going to let you guys figure that one out yourselves. But that's basically how you're going to set up and do your back end for your car. This one's for the orange car, but the other cars was done pretty much the same. So if you have questions, as always, you can just let me know.